Americans, we got to get back to common sense. Being a father is a calling. Being a father, you have a fatherhood is essential. God's ordained family needs to be intact. Welcome to the Jack Brewer Show. We welcome Congressman Burgess Owens, former NFL Super Bowl champion and a great friend of our show and a great servant to this United States of America. Congressman Owens has fought tirelessly for those that are the most vulnerable, the fatherless, the widow, and to help those that don't have educations across America. He serves on the Workforce and Education Committee for the United States government, and he is our true friend. Let's welcome Congressman Owens. Congressman, welcome to the show.
Jack, I'm looking forward to chatting with my friends. We go way back, and it's nice to be on this this pathway to make sure we can give these second chances. I'm excited about being part of it for sure.
Amen, Burgess. I got to start off, something that just came across the media is the Democrats' push to try to attract males back into their party. And I know you have been speaking about this for decades, about masculinity and about, getting our men to be men again. And so when you see the Democratic Party that has gone so far left now trying to target, they put $20 million into trying to get men to come back into their party. Yeah. They put 30 different groups out there to go try to research how to attract men. What's your response to that?
Well, unfortunately, the left, this whole concept of success is a strategy. It's not guided or developed on what really makes this all work. There's a North Star. Those who understand that God has a perfect plan for us understands that we have the different roles. I was truly blessed, Jack. I grew up in the Deep South. My dad was a very strong dad, very strong disciplinarian, very much focused on service. My mom was a big supporter. We had a strong family, and that family helped to direct us to what is right, what our responsibilities are as men, and what attracts us as men. When you take away the God factor, then you truly are trying to it's a very difficult place to get to understand what truly is, what is real and what's true and what's a strategy. So I think we're in a good place right now. The last few years, our country has come to the point where we don't want to be hopeless anymore. We want to be excited about our future. We want to know that our lives can really matter. And that's what happens when you start seeing what our roles are, particularly as men. We're designed to be protectors, to be guiders, to leaders, to be partners, and to have a legacy. And that legacy is, at the end of the day, when it all is said and done, it's not what we did on the football field years ago. That goes away, and it doesn't mean anything. It's that the family we have, the kids we grow, and what they end up doing and succeeding in the future. So that is really what the conservative values are about, and I'm glad the American people are being drawn to it for sure.
No, that's great, Burgess. I think back to our first interactions. I remember being on the screen with you on Fox News several times, and I was just, still had that little bit of liberal residue in me, and I'm like, what is he talking about? And you shot me straight. And in that moment, I had a fatherhood moment with you, where I looked at you. I already looked up to you. You're a Super Bowl champion. You spoke so well, but that was a time for me to learn from an older man that was a father figure of mine, and you really helped change my life. You changed my perspective because what you said made so much sense. And I think when we start to see the awakening that happened after Donald Trump, we've doubled and tripled the amount of votes for black men. I think we got over 20% of the votes for black males to a Republican, which, for some people to do that, they lose family members and friends and everything else. And so you'd have to imagine that number would be even higher if it was popular, right? And so what has inspired you to continue to speak the truth into something that can be so divisive?
I think part of it is for those of us who learn our history, understand what our country's about, and have a real pride in our race, in our possibilities. I grew up at a time when I saw the very best of the black community, a segregated community. So we were proving ourselves. We wanted to command respect, and how we did that was through meritocracy. We wanted to build big businesses that would draw people. We want to have strong families that people respected. We want to be able to have the kind of education that would get into a room and bring a presence with that. So to be in that position to see what the potential, not potential, but what the reality of our race was, to see what's happened over the last 50, 60 years, it's been very disappointing. And I see the attack on our family as something we have to fight for. I know what we can do when things are right, and we have to make sure we bring that back. So the family unit is at the very core of that. And we have to understand that there's an ideology that hates everything we stand for. It's a spiritual battle that we've been fighting because our country is built on spiritual principles. The spiritual battle is very simply the American way, the American culture is faith, family, the free market, those who take a risk, go out and build a business and build a legacy, and education to be able to articulate ourselves, be able to read, write, and think, to be able to have conversations that we might not agree all the time, but we still respect each other, which is what we did. Sure. We didn't agree at that moment, but we had so much respect for each other that here we are, the best of friends, and on the same page, doing the things that really we find out that we have a passion for. We have a passion for our kids, a passion for second chances. And as we talk through our differences, we'll find those places of commonality, and that's what the American people really expect, and that's who we are. We're becoming a more perfect union. So I'm excited that we have this window of time where we have leadership like President Trump, we have an America First Congress and Senate, and people like ourselves. We the people is really what makes it all work. We can have all that other stuff in position, but if we're not demanding it as Americans, if we're not expecting it and voting for the right people, then it still wouldn't work. Okay. So I have such an appreciation for those who see a need and rush toward it, not knowing exactly how it's going to work out, but you take a risk, you take your passion, and what you're doing right now with second chances with youth, this is so well needed, and this is the legacy that we all need to make sure we can be part of.
Definitely, and Burgess, a lot of what you're saying is the culture, right? And that's what you've been speaking into is a culture that you saw that was broken. You know, as a black man who see little kids and little boys that look like you, that dream to be who you are and go to the National Football League and to be able to see the American dream. And you spoke into that. And I've actually started to see that in the prisons as well. As I go into the prisons, I'm getting those questions of, Jack, you know, how can I get out and get a job? I said, you see this suit I have on? Because I wear a suit every time I go. I said, I want you to wear a suit when you get out. And now for the first time, these men start thinking a little bit different. I said, I want you to have etiquette. I want you to have business etiquette. I want you to, when people see you, they respect you, make other people smile, right? Always be thinking about the customer, the client, the friend, and how you can make the impression you can leave on another person. And you start to change their mindset. And I got one particular prison that's in Jefferson County. And I got a group, man, and I almost teared up when I started thinking about them. Got about 15 guys, all that got arrested before the age of 15 years old. And they're right now between the ages, I think 18 or 19 is my youngest, and I think 27 is my oldest. But they all look like babies to me. And so these guys, every time I come in, they have something special for me, whether it's a song they've created, a play that they've done, but they all have a plan and a goal. And so it's just, when I see those, a lot of the things that I teach them, Burgess, are the same things that you've been preaching. And so what I'm saying is if we all do that, as Americans, and start to speak into these populations that are the most underserved. I mean, we got 18.4 million fatherless kids in the United States. That's a big number.
Well, I'll tell you what, understand what's happening with the men and the young people that you're impacting. It's all about the dream. You know, my mantra has been for years, dream big. And sometimes we take that for granted. The fact that we've had the background, we've had some success, we understand it's hard work, it's a lot of failure, but if you dream past your obstacles, everything works out. There's so many people who have never experienced that before. Right. And when you're that young, you've never had any real parenting, you've never had a father in your home to tell you what discipline looks like and what it is to overcome obstacles. If you don't experience that, it is interesting when you finally feel it and see it. And so what you're doing is you're letting folks know that, first of all, they're seeing what a model looks like, and they're hearing from somebody that if I can do it, you can do it. Those words are so powerful, and it allows people to hope and dream again. And our country is about dreaming, and we need to get more of our people doing that. No matter where they are at this point in life, as long as they have a good heart and they truly want to be happy and they want to finally understand what it is to go out and serve people. And the service process, it's an interesting thing. There's a book I read a few years ago called the 5 Love Languages. And I found out that service was one of my languages. And what's interesting is it's something you lean into. If it's your language, you lean into it. It's kind of selfish because you feel good about doing it. So it's really for yourself. But the benefit is everybody around you gets to benefit from that too. We are a service culture, our country is. It will always have been. What you're doing right now is a good example of once you get to a point, your life legacy is how can you serve other people to come with you. I grew up in that environment. In the segregated South, the passion for my parents' generation was that we were going to raise the kids that will learn how to speak, how to talk, how to do math, how to go out and build great businesses, and they will be our legacy so other races can respect us. And that's what we have to get back to. So we're at a really good place. Organizations like yours, leadership like President Trump, and the kind of Congress we have now with America First, we can do things in the next few years. It's going to really change so many lives in the future. I'm looking forward to being part of that.
No, definitely. You've been doing an amazing job. And when you were just talking, I'm thinking about, wow, I'm sitting here with Congressman Burgess Owens, and then whenever I get a chance to walk in your office, I look back and I see the Super Bowl champion Burgess Owens, and I think a lot of people may see you and not even realize that you were a Super Bowl champion, and you weren't just an NFL player, but you were really good, man. And I played safety, so safety at your size in that day, you had to have a presence. But as I look at the National Football League, I saw a little change this year, Burgess. I saw a league that stopped trying to push everyone into one political mindset, and they started to embrace this country again and the values of this country again. And I was just, as an NFL player, I was actually proud for the first time for the league being able to embrace those things. What do you think?
And let me just say this. It's not the league, it's the young men.
That's right.
You have to understand. The league has not changed. I think they are who they are. It's about profit. They're going to find out where that is, and they can go with the flow. But young men, all of a sudden, on the field, saying, you know what? I love what I see. I love this boldness, this courage. And young men is really where we're going to change our country, get it back in place again. I want to say this too for those that are listening, because obviously, you and I, we've gone through getting to on the big field. We've understood what it is to compete at that level, to succeed at that level, and then it's very easy to kind of think, well, the next steps are so easy because you just continue that process. Yeah. But I don't know all your story. You don't know all of mine, but I know there's a lot of defeats in between that, and that's what people need to understand. The reason why we have such a heart for people is we understand that we all go those times in which it's really tough. And somebody comes along and says, you can do this. All of a sudden you're doing it and you just want to give that back. So I would say the biggest message of our lives, and I want people to realize this, there's struggle in everything we do. Life is about, do you decide to keep fighting through it and hanging in there and hoping and dreaming big, or do you give up? And at the end of the day, the message is, if I can do it, you can do it. If we're able to do that and be humble enough to share those struggles with people, because if somebody's probably going through the same exact thing I might have gone through 40, 50 years ago, that moment is important to them. So I would say that that's the biggest part, I think, of what your mission has been, to go into these prisons, to talk to people, say, well, why is he even here? What does he want from me? And they realize there's nothing you want for them other than success. And you want for you the idea that your service means something. That's going to be the legacy. That's America. That's the reason why we thrive the way we do. We are a culture that loves to give back because it's based on how we worship Him. It's based on the God that has given us so much, and we want to make sure we give back.
No, amen. And it becomes a burden. And whenever you're given, whether it's you're making it to the National Football League, you're given an audience, you got people that are looking to you and looking up to you, it becomes an obligation that you have to your society and to your country to serve one another. So I know I feel the burden all the time, and that's why, I tell people, it's not okay to push a kid into believing that they can pick their gender.
That's
right? It's not okay for the National Football League to come out and say football is gay. Their players don't believe that.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, they've been standing up against it, speaking out against it.
Yeah.
It's not okay to push people towards things that are anti-God and anti-country and anti-family. And I think that's where you've seen the liberal side start to lose a lot of ground, because people said enough is enough.
Yeah.
It's one thing to say, hey, you choose to do what you want to do. That's okay. No one is arguing about that. Conservatives don't want to take away anyone's choice. Mm-hmm. But the second you start to push your agenda upon people, that is a godless agenda, I think that's when the nation starts to take a stand. And I think that's what we're seeing. But that's the reason why this time is so important when it comes to our fatherless population. Because as you said, a lot of our kids don't have that guidance. A lot of our kids don't have that protector, right? Like both of my daughters have protectors. I'm their protector, right? Everybody don't have that protector. And so now you're preying on the vulnerable.
That's right.
And I think that's what people have started to see about the other side, is that a lot of the things that they're doing is preying on people spiritually. And I think that's where the nation starts to say enough is enough.
Well, we've had a chance. Sometimes we got to go really tough times to have that humble moment and realize that something needs to change. And we do it individually, but as a country, we went through the last 4 years as very, very tough times. We went through a time of COVID where all of a sudden we can't go to church when we want to. We can't open a business because Big Brother says we can't don't want to. You're dealing with boys now going into girls' bathrooms. Why? Because somebody said that was the way to do. It comes down to this. Our country has always been in good position. We have men that'll stand up and fight for it. We need to have our kids where not only are our girls protected and they know they're protected, but our boys know how to protect, how to run toward the fear, and how to make sure that no woman around them, no matter what color or what age, it's going to be attacked without some fight back. I think we're seeing the process of this progressive liberalism. We start seeing young men either fighting girls or standing by taking pictures to put on video while other girls are being attacked. Where are the men now? We have boys and girls sports. Where are the fathers that said, no, you're not going to do this to my girl. You're not going to box my girl. You're not going to run against her. So we have to bring manhood back. And manhood basically is not only a partnership, a true partnership, a love, I guess a subservient attitude towards servicing their family. So whatever it takes, if it takes 24 hours a day working, if it takes going out and making sure that you're in these schoolroom boards where people are talking about the schools and their kids and education, any place in which we can have an impact on our kids, we need to be there. Amen. And I think the problem is, over the decades, we've lost the understanding of what our responsibilities are. And I'll be honest with you, I saw this growing up in a segregated community. I remember the first HUD programs being set up where women were told they could live there free. All they have to do is just have a bunch of kids, just not have any man in the house. So that process, I realized even back then, when I was a kid, that something's wrong with that. That's not the way it should be. And that's because I had a family to begin to compare. I could see the way my family was and what they were doing with these single girls and ladies wasn't right. And it didn't matter how old these girls were, as long as they had babies. So you think about how that process began to destroy the family of young boys growing up and seeing that there's no person, no male of responsibility. Men come in and leave in the morning, no responsibility. Young boys grow up thinking that's the way life should be. Right. So it's up to us to really think that our presence, our example, is not only for our kids, but for our country in terms of getting our culture back.
Wow, man, that's powerful, Burgess. And it runs so deep. and a lot of the work I know that you've done supporting President Trump. You know, we got this big, beautiful bill that we're just waiting to get passed.
Yeah.
And, you know, so much of this is focused on strengthening the family. So much is focused on strengthening our economy and bringing jobs back to the United States. You know, balancing out our trade deficits.
Yeah.
And a lot of the work that you're doing, I know in particularly when it comes to workforce and development, is focused on bringing jobs back to Americans, but not just the Americans that have already, but the Americans that may have not,
Yeah.
and that may be in need. Tell us a little bit about your vision and your passion behind the work you're doing to strengthen our workforce.
I think it's important to recognize what makes our country so unique, what makes it the magnet that not only people want to come to, but they want to buy from. We have a remarkable middle class. First of all, it starts off business owners, small business owners, power the middle class. And that middle class defines our culture. That middle class, and this is again, I was able to grow up, the black community when I was being raised in the segregated South had a remarkable middle class. Because you think about the community that was segregated, all the money stayed there. All the examples stayed there. So whether it be a lawyer or a doctor or a pharmacist or a plumber, you saw around you what it was to go to work every single day, to have men come out to work with you on the Pee-wee teams, all black men. Perkins service stations, Speed's grocery store. I mean, I could go through the litany of what I saw growing up. So success was not hypothetical. It was what I saw, and the middle class was across the country growing like crazy in the black community. We believed that education was our gateway. So my dad was a college professor, my mom was a teacher. My mom was part of 12 kids, and half of them were teachers. Wow. And guess what? We respected them all. Because teachers felt their job was, their legacy was to make sure these kids would go out and represent our community in the right way. So what President Trump has done now, and what we're beginning to understand, is it is the middle class that we have to focus on. The bigger that middle class is, the freer our country is, the more engaged people are, the more people are saying, I don't want to be dependent on anybody. Right. And by the way, that's the way small business owners think. They go out and take the risk, and they know because they take a risk and they fail, and they pick up, they recognize, first of all, I deserve the success I have. I'm appreciative of it, and the success I have, I'm gonna make sure I give back as much as I can. That's that middle class that is so unique and so special, and what makes our country what it is. So everything we're doing right now, whether it be no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime, no tax on cars you buy in the United States, right. $10 billion investments back to our country. We now need to just make sure our kids are ready to go to work. Unfortunately, because of the failure of our educational system, we have not been preparing them. Right now, we're 1.7 million workers short. There's a deficit. So not only do we have a deficit and we're graying out because the baby boomers are now retiring, but we have this remarkable opportunity where business is coming here, and we don't right now we're ready for it. So we need to make sure that we're teaching our children, first of all, how to read, write, and think. That's important. That's a foundation. Right now, we're failing them, but with 70% of 8th graders not knowing how to read and write, that is unacceptable. So as Americans, we have to start, first of all, having higher expectations for our kids, make sure that they are given the right kind of training to get things done. Know that we have a window we're going into that could be remarkable for us with the types of policies the president's putting out. The tariffs, it's another good thing. Now, again, these are tough periods to go through because we're resetting ourselves. That's right. We're saying, instead of the world taking from our middle class, taking our middle class and putting it elsewhere, we're going to build our middle class. We're going to build our businesses here, and the world will pay us for that honor to come and take from our middle class and be profitable. So we're looking at doing things that goes back to 1913. That's the last time that we actually had a time where tariffs was what gave 90% of our federal revenue. Wow. Tariffs. And we have a president now talk about balancing the budget, which is a very exciting concept to come from the president. But he's talking about using an external revenue service in which tariffs can actually pay for the things we do, brings in that revenue, and take the pressure off internal revenue, right, where Americans keep more of their money. So these are concepts that's kind of new and different, very innovative. But here we are, we're in a process, we're able to talk about that, be part of that. And the biggest part is that those who in the past have never had a chance to go out and work, get ready. If you're willing to take responsibility, if you're willing to work hard, if you're willing to not give up on your dream, you're going to have a possibility in this country to build yourself to the middle class, things you probably never dreamed about before. You'll get there, you pinch yourself and say, I cannot believe I'm living my dreams. But then it's going to be a responsibility to take that and give and bring others with you, which is what, again, my community was doing big time back in the 60s. They're bringing those who were not with them yet to that level. Wow. And we get back to that, it's going to be a remarkable place to experience for sure.
No doubt. It sounds like you're talking about entering the golden age again.
Yeah,
and so,
I like that term. Sounds familiar.
Oh man, Congressman Burgess Owens, this has been incredible, but I cannot let you leave without at least giving us one football story.
One Raiders story?
You got to give me a Raiders story. I mean, you played for some of the greatest coaches and people and the teammates in a period of the National Football League that, I think a lot of us wish we could get back to in a lot of ways. You got any stories for us?
Absolutely. This is one I love to tell because, some of us remember, you guys are a little bit too young to remember Al Davis in his prime, but the Raiders, this is before free agency. And so many players would love to be with the Raiders if they ever get there, but this opportunities weren't as available as all today. But the way it was in old days, the NFL has some very strict rules, and you had to play the part. You had to be don't make noise, don't make too much trouble. So if you're too old, too rambunctious, too crazy, too wild for any other team, then the Raiders will take you off. Say, come here. Because Al was a coach, was the owner of second chances. I mean, when I think about what he put in place, I see so much of the Trump way. Mm-hmm. His passion was winning, period. He didn't golf, he didn't take vacations. He studied film, he studied players. He made sure that maybe 5-6 years later, that guy that came out of college, he could be on his team. But that's the way he was. He cared about his connection with the Raider team and that model. So he would get guys that really could not fit anyplace else. And the best way to explain that is to kind of give you some of the nicknames. All right, Raiders had nicknames that no other team had, and the goal was when you got there, hopefully one day you'll get yourself a nickname. All right, so I'm going to go through a couple of them, and keep in mind these are guys I played with. Some guys came a little bit before me, but this was very normal for the Raiders. You had the Ghost, Snake, Assassin, Dr. Death, Mad Dog, Spike, Crush, Kick'em, and Kick'em was Ted Hendricks. Yeah. There was a guy laying on the field on the other team, laying down, and Ted, when he went by, decided he wanted to kick him, so he kicked him. So from that point on, Kick'em meant Ted Hendricks. And I'll say this about the Raiders: it's something that you didn't think about all the time, but you wanted to play hard, you want to make big plays, and one day somebody's going to say something that will give you a name. A nickname. So I finally, after 3 years, my last year, I finally got a nickname. The nickname was number 44. And I embraced it. I was so excited. I said, number 44, even today. Number 44. I mean, that's what's kind of cool about the era we came through. It's something about being part of a team and that the camaraderie that we feel. It's because we know what we've all gone through. Sorry. I see my dad, who's a World War II vet, and he felt the same way with his former veterans. Those who went through the World War II together, they saw each other, they respected each other. Even toward the end of his life, he had built apartment units. He was trying to figure out how can he get veterans to come in, because there's something when you go through the experience together, you relate, and it's heartfelt. It's an emotional thing. So we felt that way on the NFL team. We need to feel that way about our country. We need to get back to where we're Americans. And no matter what color we are, we understand the experience, we understand what it takes to work hard and give a legacy. And if we teach our past, and this is what our country is all about, becoming a more perfect union. We teach where we started, that we started with a dream of freedom, of becoming a more perfect union, of embracing each other. We teach that to our kids. Our kids want to even be better at that. So we have to get back to that, realize we're in a fight for the culture, and it's a godless ideology that hates family, faith, the free market education, actually hates it. If they can destroy those 4 tenets, they will destroy our culture, and we will not be the America that we have been raised in and want to make sure we continue to protect. So we have a remarkable opportunity right now. I would say those who are listening to this, whatever your talents are, one thing about the Raider team, we were all different. We were some guys were crazy. It was kind of fun. If you were normal, just sit back and watch them. It was always funny. All you do is just sit back and just watch. But here's the deal. When it came to putting your foot on the field, everybody gave everything. And no matter what position that was, we expected that position, that guy was going to hold up his part of the bargain. And when you do that, everybody does their job, you get a Super Bowl championship out of it. That's right. And that's where we are right now as a country. We all have different talents. We have things that we can bring to the plate. I guess the biggest part is recognize you have something to bring to the plate. Everyone out here, we're here for a reason. This is a special time in history, and we're here to experience it. So we have to recognize it's a blessing. Bring everything to the plate, and let's make sure that our country is moving forward. And it starts with giving people, number one, a second chance, and giving many of our kids their first chance. Right. Give them a chance to say, you know what, you don't have a father in the house, we're going to change that. That's right. I'll be a mentor. I'll hold that spot until you now have your family. You can be the father for your kids. So those are the kind of things we have to do, and know that the legacy of America is that we truly are that shining light where people want to be here, and if they can't, they can at least emulate what we're doing, and that is also a blessing to a big way.
Amen. Amen. Well, Congressman Owens, this has been incredible. I pray for you, and I ask God to continue to protect you. The country is blessed to have you and have your leadership and have your example during these times that we're going through in overcoming our fatherless crisis and getting our country back to loving God and family and country again. And so thank you for joining our show. And hopefully we can have you back real soon.
Jack, let's do it again. And I want to thank you, buddy, for your vision, for you understand that you are here for a reason, and you're doing a great job. Appreciate it. Anything we can do, obviously. You know, I'd love to partner up with you, buddy. So let's make it happen.
Thank you. Everyone, please follow Congressman Burgess Owens. You can find him on Instagram, Twitter. Support him. See what he's working on. He's fighting for you and fighting for your family. God bless you. Until next time, I'm Jack Brewer. Together, we are going to go into the golden age and change and uplift our families.